Hello, this is Mr. Stansbury. I'm going to take you through the notes on adding and subtracting polynomials. At the end of this, you should be able to say, I can add and subtract polynomials and see the purpose in real world problems. So let's just start off with our real world problem here. Polly's Pasta and Pizza Supplies sells wholesale goods to local restaurants. They keep track of the revenue earned from selling kitchen supplies and food products. The function K down here models the revenue from kitchen supplies, and the function F models the revenue from food product sales for 1 year in dollars, where T represents the number of the month, 1 through 12, on the last day of each month. So 1 would represent January 31st, 2 would represent February 28th or 29th, depending. Okay? So these are our two functions here. So it says, what is Polly's total revenue for May? So what we could do is we could simply put in a 5 for each of these t's, because May is the 5th month. Come up with the answer for this one, and then come up with the answer for this one, add them together. Okay? Or, better yet, is we can actually add these two functions together and then plug in the 5 just for one of, well, for just the one equation instead of having to plug it into two different equations. Okay, so that's what we're talking about with adding and subtracting polynomials. So let's add these things together. So we'll put our little selves a little bar here. So really we're going to get K plus F. Really it's K of T, plus, oh man, I'm having a hard time, F of T equals, and then we're going to add these things all together. So 15 and 36 make what, 51? 51. T to the third. Those are both T squared, so we can subtract those from each other, which, since they're both negative, we'll add them. So it's going to be T squared, and that's be a 2, a 3, and a 10. So negative 1032 T squared plus, these are both T's, add those together, and we get 6 and 8 gives us 14. Carry the 1, 3, 4, 50, 400 T. And then these, we're going to subtract these from each other. The 1600 is the bigger of the two, so we keep that sign, subtract those two, and we get 500. Okay, so we just added two polynomials together here. Okay, so now Polly's total revenue for May would be 51 times T, which in this case is 5, cubed, minus 1032 times 5 squared, plus 5400 times 5 minus 500. So we'll get our calculator here, 51, and then we're going to go basically times 5 to the third power. So the power button, remember, is this little up arrow. 5 to the third. They actually have a square button on here, but just in case. And then we get minus 1032 times 5 squared. You can also put these in parentheses just like it looks. That is just the same as multiplying. Okay. Plus 5400 times 5 minus 500. Okay, and that gives us a total income for May of 7075. So in May, with between their kitchen and F, what's the food, right? Kitchen model and the food, kitchen supplies, and the function F models revenues from food product sales. That took me a while to figure out. Okay, so K of T plus F of T equals 7075. Okay, next, Polly's monthly operating costs are represented by the function C of T, where T represents the number of the month, 1 through 12, of the last day of the month. Okay, what is Polly's total profit for May? So in order to calculate profit equals your revenue minus your cost. So this up here is the revenue, and so then we got to take the revenue and subtract the cost. Right? So in that case here, we've got our revenue is 51t cubed minus 1032t squared plus 5400t minus 500, because that's what we got when we added our two revenues together. And now we're going to subtract our cost, which is this right here, which is 5t cubed minus 110t squared plus 600t plus 1000. Okay, so we're going to subtract these two things here. So what I like to do is I will inevitably accidentally add these together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change all the signs of the second one, because I'm going to subtract all of these. So I'm going to change that to a negative, change that from a negative to a positive, and I'm going to change these two from positives to negatives, and then I can simply just add the two lines together. So 51t cubed minus 5t cubed is 46t cubed. These two have opposite signs, so we're going to subtract them and keep the sign of the bigger one, which is the negative. So we do that, and we get, let's see, a 2, and a 9, minus 922t squared. These are opposite signs. Keep the sign of the bigger 2, which is 5400, minus 600 is 4800t, and then negative 500 and negative 1000 is negative 1500. So now what we're going to do is, this is our profit, right? So we're going to plug in 5 for all of our t's here to figure out what the total profit is for May. So profit for May is going to be 46 times 5 cubed minus 922 times 5 squared plus 4800 times 5 minus 1500. Okay, so then we can stick that into our calculator. Let's get rid of everything else that we had in there. So this is a 46. So we get 46, and I'll just do this with parentheses to show that it works just the same. 5 to the third. Make sure that once you're done with your power, you push the right arrow button. Otherwise, it's going to keep typing up in the power, and it's going to mess everything up. So minus 922 times 5 squared plus 4800 times 5 minus 1500. And that gives us, that makes a total, they make a total profit of 5,200. 5,200 bucks for May. So that is how much they take in, but they got to subtract out how much they have to spend for all of their products and stuff. So they end up taking in $5,200. Not too bad. Okay. All right, we're going to take a look at a couple more examples, but before that, let's take a quick comedy break.
When you get on an escalator, do me a favor, just grab the handrail and just stand there. Let life take over. Let it raise you from one floor to another. Can't stand the people who still feel the need to walk. Same idiots always. It's usually the guy with the NutriBullet full of greens. That guy's, excuse me! On the left, excuse me, excuse me! I don't let him by. I get all big. I'm like, nope, not happening. No. No. Excuse me. Nope, not happening. Big man Pilates time.
Okay. All right, let's take a look at a couple more examples and we'll call it good. So we're going to simply just add these two together, and we're going to subtract those two from each other. So if we're going to add them together, I usually like to put one underneath the other. It doesn't matter with addition. I'm just going to, like, for habit, I'm just going to always take the second one and move it under the first one because it's going to make it easier for subtraction. But so I'm just going to move this one under. And then when I do that, let's see, these are all additions, so I'm going to keep all the signs the same. So I'm going to try to line them up with the other pieces that they have. So we've got an x cubed, so I've got 2x cubed here, and then here's the tricky part. There's a 3x squared, but there's no x squared here, so we got to kind of squeeze that in here. 3x squared, and then negative 6x is going to go with the 4x, and then the 7 is going to go with the 13. Okay, and then we simply just add those together. No carrying, that's the nice part. 7 plus 13 is 20. Negative 6x and negative 4x is negative 10x. There's nothing to add the 3x squared to, so I'm going to put 3x squared here. And then x cubed, there's one of those, plus 2x cubes is 3x cubes. And if there's no, since this is positive, we're going to want to put a positive there. And that is simply adding those two together. Okay. Now, when we subtract, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to move this under here, but I'm going to change all these signs when I move them. So, because basically we're distributing this negative to all 4 of these pieces, right? So I'm going to just put them underneath here. Let's see, we've got no x cubes, but we do have an x squared. So I'm going to switch that to negative. That's a negative. This is a positive. And that's a negative. So I'll just copy it straight underneath. So I'm going to squeeze my negative 2x squared in here. 2x squared. Oh, look, this is supposed to be a 3. Because look, there's another x squared. That wouldn't make any sense. So let's do this. So we're going to call this cubed. My apologies. So subtract 2x cubed. And then subtract a 3x squared. And then add a 6x. Again, trying to line it up with that, but there's not enough room. But that's okay. And then we're going to subtract our 7. Okay, and now we're going to add these together. 13 and negative 7 is positive 6. 6x and negative 4x is positive 2x. There's nothing to add the negative 3x squared to. And then 1x cubed minus 2x cubed gives us negative 1, or simply just negative x cubed. And we end up with that. Okay? All right. That's all we have for adding and subtracting polynomials. If you have any further questions, please feel free to ask. Thanks.